So what does best practice SEO look like? I'm Anne Miles from Suits and Sneakers, and today I have an interview with Ian Hopkinson. Ian's also known as the mad scientist and is an expert in SEO. So what does the best SEO look like? What's most ethical right now? How do we even get gender bias out of our SEO? And how do we even get to be better at SEO? Okay, hi Ian.
Hi Anne, how are you?
I'm good, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me along. It's good to see humans.
Yeah, it sure is. So I've got some burning questions about SEO. I think personally it's, for me, one of the most confusing parts of the marketing whole chain. And I got to say, with people in my inbox spamming me every second day or every day over and over about, oh, I'm an SEO expert and you need me, and there's all these different sorts of SEO and the whole thing. I feel like it's a real confusing part of the industry. And I thought, what better than talking to someone that I would actually trust to try and piece it together for everybody. And I did wonder, how do you define the best practice of SEO?
Yeah,
Probably
good question to kick off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're spot on. I mean, I still don't believe that we're all still getting those emails that people, especially in something like SEO, that people are still using that way of engaging with people. That's not building relationship. So I suppose, where's SEO at the moment? The interesting thing about the SEO and of the past, and I suppose the baggage that comes with that, is SEO was basically something that Google recommended that techies do on their websites. You know, if you're a web developer or a webmaster and you've put up a website, then there's things you need to optimize. You need to tag your images, and you need to put in your meta descriptions, and all these things that have the search engines find you better. But as Google's got smarter, and there's a lot of machine learning that's in the works with Google now, it's just getting smarter at understanding what your website's about and what your overall presence is. And it's called semantic SEO for the nerds out there. And what that means is, there's a whole range of things. But what that means is that the relationship of words, for instance, like if digital marketing agency, for instance, is something that you're optimizing for, the algorithm knows that, well, digital marketing company or digital marketing services or digital marketing business are virtually the same thing. Whereas before, you used to have to put in very specific words and it had to be in a specific order. But because Google's got smarter now, they're able to, I suppose, move towards the more branded UX content experience, rather than all of these technical aspects. And so SEO has moved from what was, doing a bunch of optimization to now a more holistic experience for the users. So they're getting a trusted result that's relevant to their search. It's well branded. They're speaking to their customers. They're giving value through the content. It's become a more holistic approach, I suppose. That's kind of where SEO is in this sort of, this week anyway.
Yeah, I did feel like it is a little confusing, and some of the SEO sort of freelancers and experts out there do little tiny bits of it. So if I was to make a list of the different parts of SEO, it's like there's this sort of back of your website spiderweb kind of stuff that goes on, and like you just said, there's photo naming and all those conventions and everything. And then you've just also said brand building, really, and getting a presence off your website is another part. So does that align with sort of the backlink policy or process? And is that all of them? Yeah.
I was waiting for backlinks to be mentioned. So
yeah. And because I know there's good ways to do it and bad ways to do it as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Look, So SEO, if we're talking strictly in traditional SEO terms, you've got what you call on-page SEO, which is basically, as the name suggests, everything that's on your website. That's all about that. That could be the content, so that's sort of divided into two sections. Could be the content, or it could be the technical. So things like, how do you get the search engine to index you better? There's a search console setup you've got to have, which is kind of the nerdy SEO version of Google Analytics. So you can submit files, you can tell Google to not crawl certain pages. There's those technical aspects of part of on-page. And then the other side is the content side of it, which is having the right title, the right meta description for that page, and it has to be relevant to that page. You've got your site structure, you've got your internal linking, is there a good user experience? Is the speed there? There's so many aspects to it. So that's that on-page piece. As far as the links go, that's kind of what we call off-page or off-site. So you can there's different terminology for it there, but that's really about what's happening off of your website, as the name suggests as well. So, are you active on social? You providing links there that are bringing people back to your site? Is it an email campaign that's bringing people to your site? AdWords, other paid activities. Is it PR? Is there some PR, either digital or more traditional PR, that's bringing you some traffic in as well? And then, of course, in that piece, there's this whole link building thing, which SEO companies still do a lot of, the kind of a fake it till you make it thing, where they're sort of creating blogs and linking back to your site. And now it is somewhat still relevant because, of course, Google is all about trust, and most of trust in the eyes of Google is established because of those trusted links pointed to your site. But obviously the best way to get those is to be awesome, and for people to want to link to you and be doing a whole range of other things, including understanding your customer and adding value and all those sorts of things. So that's the off-page piece. And then you've got local SEO. If you thought I was already finished, I'm not. Then you've got local SEO, which is more your Google My Business page, all your directories. In Australia, if you're in Australia, it's True Local and it's Hot Frog and it's a bunch of those ones, White Pages, Yellow Pages. That's your sort of your localized listings. So they're the three basic kind of areas. And there's multiple rabbit holes within each area, but that's sort of the basic breakdown.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't actually realise just how crucial SEO was until I connected you up with a client at one point where it was a furniture retailer. You might not remember because you do it all the time. But what happened is the client just said all of a sudden their web traffic had gone down and so had their sales, but they didn't know why. And all their marketing activity was all the same. Everything was consistent, but they were smart enough to say it could be an SEO problem. And so got you to come in and do some advisory. And it was amazing because just in a few seconds you said there's some article that was in another publication, one image that people used to click through to their website. So it was like an editorial story on the particular product, of which was through there. When that was pulled down, like it really affected their sales. And I thought that was really fascinating. And I know you've called it like an ambulance service sort of thing, a rescue service. But what would you do when that comes down? Like, what if they might not be able to have any control over it if it's gone. I don't know. What sort of solutions could they have had at that time?
Good question. So what you're talking, one thing I really care about, and I've got to get this out there because people are obsessed with keywords. Now, yes, we search for a keyword and yes, we get a result and yes, hopefully the searcher ends up on your website.
Hmm.
But what happens when they get to your website, which is kind of more on the conversion side, it's probably a little bit more on the CRO side of things rather than SEO, getting them to your site. But one thing I'm really passionate about is understanding what the high performing pages are on your website.
Mm.
So not just where are your keywords taking people. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about what are those pages that are really working hard for you, and understanding which ones they are, and then understanding, well, who's linking to those pages. Like you said, you know, in that case, they were getting traffic or they were getting leads from a particular source, and you can do what they call a backlink profile. There's various tools out there which will show you the links that are pointing to your site. And I suggest everybody does that, or ask their, you know, consultant or agency to do that and supply that to them, because there might be people already linking to you that are partners or, you know, suppliers or whatever it might be. You already have a relationship to them, and you don't even know they're linking to you, for one.
Yeah, I don't think they even knew who it was at first in this particular case. Yeah, but then potentially, if you know that's a successful formula, then you can go replicate it too, can't you, in other places?
You can replicate it. You can ask other people to link to you, although asking people to link to you is not all that cool. It's nice if they just think you're awesome and they link to you because that's their idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But you can do that. You can also, I think what it's about really, if I was taking a broader business approach, I should say, rather than just a marketing approach, there's a value to your business that is happening either, you know, via those links. And so understanding, like any part of your business, understanding what's performing and optimizing that even to get more of it is a much preferred way, rather than aspects of your site that really aren't getting a lot of engagement and need a lot of work before they really actually get any traction. I'm all about looking at the gold dust and looking at what you've already got and then enhancing that. And so it's also, you know, I don't want to think negatively about your marketing, but it's also a bit of a mitigation strategy as well. So if you do lose a link or you lose something that is a good source, you know, of traffic to your site, why would you risk losing it? And you can't even, first of all, you've got to know what those are. I suppose that's what confuses me about a lot of businesses, is that what we're talking about here is quite logical, but they won't take the time to ask or to really analyze that. And I think agencies are the same. I think agencies kind of glaze over this and do their process, and they go, oh, well, we're going to do on page for you. Let's do the do. And there's not enough discussion of, okay, what are your needs? Where are your current leads coming from? SEO may not necessarily be the right thing for you to do. You might be getting amazing traction off, I don't know, Twitter or something like that. And did you know all your customers are coming from Twitter? Great. Let's do something that gets even more of those. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but I think there's quite a logical approach that you can take.
I mean, I do like the way that you talk about it anyway, because building your brand is the best thing that you can do, and it's, you know, the ongoing value of the business. I think also there's a lot of PR activity that happens in silo, and even the website isn't even linked or mentioned, or it might be mentioned but not actually linked to. So that's, you know, it's just text. So I guess it's in all those PR opportunities, are people leveraging that, and even putting the link to your PR on your website so that it's, you know, you're getting a good reason for it all to be connected. I just don't see those two worlds talking to each other. I mean, do you see that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I got a message yesterday from a PR company basically saying these guys want digital PR, and there's all these terms that get thrown around.
Yeah.
And when I read the inquiry, they were really asking for quite traditional, ongoing sort of SEO, so building trusted links, right?
Yep.
but they're calling it digital PR. And I thought
Mm.
the worlds have really blurred, and so people are having discussions about the relationship between all of these aspects, whether it's you know what we understand as digital marketing these days, or it's the PR crew, or whatever it might be. So I think we're definitely starting to talk to each other and understand each other's disciplines, but there is still quite a siloed approach. I think we're a little bit, you know, I think in the States and the UK, they're probably a little bit more progressive with these sorts of things as far as talking to each other. I think we are trying down under. I think we are talking to each other, and we're getting there, but it's still not really ingrained in a process, if you like, you know, interagency sort of process. We're still working in our little silos, which is quite naturally always been the case, because we've got our different specialties, and that has become so specialised. So it's a bit of a challenge, sort of all coming together with the different disciplines working for the good of the client.
I mean, even if the average marketer just heard that right now and then went, how can I get my, you know, PR team and even social, heaven help us if it starts to be called, you know, social, digital, social, oh my God. But, you know, how do you get all those things, linking together? I think that's a huge step that could make a really big difference. Like, having seen that situation where the furniture company I talked about, you know, their sales were really impacted by that move. So in reverse, imagine that all of a sudden you can, let's make all of our existing material that we've done work for SEO. It could be a really big potential for a client.
Well, that's one point too, is that SEO needs a bit of a rebrand. I mean, it's you know, it's still thought of as a techie space. As I said, there's elements of it that are techie, but really SEO people are needed through the whole process of brand, like even naming, for instance. So like in the early days of Mad Scientists, I was doing quite a lot of brand strategy and websites, logo design, UX, and owning your online real estate for your business name. Like, that alone is something that seems to get forgotten until they're already competing with a number of businesses with similar names. And they say, Ian, you can do your magic here, and you can be page one, number one for our brand name. Which is fine. That's all achievable. But it's better if you have thought about it from the very start. So as a startup, if you're watching this, a name is everything, and it is brand. And I mean, look at suits and sneakers. That's your name is unique. You can own the online real estate, and it also speaks to all of the other brand elements that you need to, and it's broad. You can suits and sneakers could be a whole range of different things.
I could even start selling suits and sneakers, maybe. But that's the little branded brand.
But that's the work of brand, isn't it? Like, so you create this great vehicle that engages with people, and SEO is in all of the layers, if you like, you know, for building your story and your message and your brand, the content, you know, the analysis of it. It's in every layer, and that would probably be one thing I would say, is that I guess SEO specialists are more the puppet master sort of people, I think, now, rather than over in the corner in the dark doing techie stuff. Yeah.
So how do you actually measure when that SEO is effective? I know that's broad, but I'm going, some people, you know, how do you know to trust somebody? It's probably the genuine question there. And then within that, you probably say there's different elements that you can measure and check. Like, I know you can do a report, but how do we know we've got the right people to do it? And how do you know that their work is good, I suppose? Yeah.
Well, this is a hobby horse of mine. Yeah, because the industry is still in a bit of disarray. It's probably an understatement. I think the first thing you've got to do is you've got to take your time. So with evaluating the service that's being provided, just like you would any other part of your business.
Mhm.
Because I think SEO is a bit of a black box. You know, everyone sort of calls it the black box, and it really is.
Mm.
You've got to speak to more than just one person. Like the amount of agencies that I've either helped because a client is having difficulty with them, or vice versa. That rescue role that I play, it takes two to tango. You know, so one of the things I would say is that I would be understanding more about SEO than you currently do, even if it's the basics, even if it's watching videos like this, because it's so important to your marketing now that you can't afford to, as a business owner or a marketer within a business running a marketing department, you can't afford to just say, oh, that's that SEO stuff and I don't need to know. You need to know, because it's so important, even if you know the basics, enough to be able to ask the tough questions of an agency. You know, do you do link building? How do you do that? Can you send us some examples? You know, when it comes to our on-page, what can we do as a business to help the SEO initiatives? Because that's my other favourite one, is businesses give, you know, they'll hire an SEO specialist with very little you know, investigation into what they actually are doing, and it might be one of those emails from exotic lands that we all get. You know, what can you do for $200 a month? You know, and they give you a shopping list of things, but you don't really investigate what they are, and you say yes, and then you end up with, you know, a campaign that really relies just on SEO. You haven't asked them, can I create regular fresh content, which is something that Google really cares about.
Yeah.
Do I have to reorganize my site in some way? Do I need a landing page for a specific subject? Do I need an FAQ, because that's going to be important for voice search now and in the future?
Oh, that's interesting.
There's all these sorts of, and I've opened up lots of cans of worms there, and these are all individual episodes virtually, but there's all those sorts of questions. Just, you almost got to be investigative in the way that you talk to SEO specialists now about what they're going to do for you.
So when you're looking at this specialist framework, maybe I'm asking for myself here, but I think it applies to everyone. If we're looking to hire an SEO person, I mean, I feel a lot of people think that that's all going to happen in one person. Do you think it's possible to have one person who can do the whole line of things, or do you think there are certain specialists you'd recommend people connecting with?
Specialists win the day in digital generally, I think, at the moment. I think the best scenarios I'm in at the moment with you know, with my team and the clients is where you've got a marketing consultant, and then you've got a group of specialists that, you know, that are working under that umbrella, or, you know, in collaboration. I have seen bigger agencies that have multiple disciplines with in-house. I have seen that work. The only thing with that is that you do find that they're very good at one or two things, but they're not good at everything. It's just impossible now. Now, I'm not saying there aren't good ones out there, but that it's just getting harder and harder, and like it's getting so complex, as you know. And even within in SEO, you've got multiple industries under the SEO banner. I mean, when you consider that there's 200 plus signals that Google looks for to rank a brand online,
wow,
you know, you could have a full-time R&D department just understanding what matters. You know, what's Google's philosophy, where are they headed? We've gone. I mean, we've had the internet for 25 years now. It's gone deep.
Yeah, it has gone deep. Yeah.
It's gone really deep, and I think we're still learning how to use the bloody thing, of course. But
and then Google goes and changes it, you know, just when you get used to it as well.
And then Google goes and changes it. But look, the good thing about where Google's going is they're making it easier. They're rewarding people who are doing the right thing. So rather than punishing people who are doing the wrong thing, they're rewarding people for doing the right thing. And I think that's a really good direction.
That is a good direction. So speaking of the wrong thing then, what do you reckon generally are the worst mistakes that, marketing departments are doing?
Probably a lack of, one thing I've already touched on, lack of coordination, understanding, between the parties, forgetting the end game here, which is the client would like to build some awareness and build some value, some valuable product or service, and that needs to be front and center. That needs to be branded well, and the language that goes along with that. And so I think the big mistakes are for sort of, wood for the trees sort of stuff, where you actually forget, okay, what were we doing again? What was it? What was the objective? Oh, that's right. And putting sales aside, okay, sales is a nice byproduct of this whole conversation. But that's another thing too. I mean, the obsession with sales. Sales is important because we need to, we've all agreed to exchange this thing called money, and that's makes the world go round. However, being obsessed with the sale, and a lot of businesses are, means you forget a lot about the branding function, which is really attracting the right people to you to provide them with a valuable product or service. You've got to get all of that in motion before guys like me have anything to optimize. I mean, we say we optimize awesome. Well, we optimize like people who want to be awesome as well, and that means marketing people talking to each other, the business kind of understanding, having a bit more of an understanding of how all this works.
Yeah, and I think I'm really grateful for you to be talking about this, because I think it is really one of those things that's stuck under the hood, and it's like just, pass it over there or ignore it. So I think just starting to ask those questions and treating it a little more seriously. I mean, I know for myself, I go, even at the beginning when you're building a website, and I'm starting to have a lot of images and content in my world, at the beginning, if someone ever said to me, even the way the naming conventions and how you load that up, if I'd have known about it in the beginning, it wouldn't be such an epic job now as well. So I think it is good to know and to think about it really early in the job. I'm wondering if you see different strategies working in different categories or different parts of the industry, some more than the others. Are there differences, or is it all pretty much the same?
Look, there's some core approaches that work across the board, with SEO. But that's another, I mean, it's a great question, because that's another thing too, is that how, what answer or what strategy is recommended, basically, but really about what the question is. As our CEO likes to say, the questions are in the answers, or the answers are in the questions, kind of thing. It's a bit of an interesting one, and sometimes I drive people crazy because they think they've asked me the same question, but they get a different answer. They go, but hang on, you said, and it's just sheerly because there's so many variables. The one thing that an SEO specialist and probably broader digital marketing specialist need to understand is the business. If you don't understand the business and what the objectives of the business are, then you are going to end up with a bit of a mishmash and not a particularly valuable outcome. Not to say that there isn't a lot of marketing, and I don't know whether marketing people are talking enough about this, but a lot of it is experimentation. You don't know.
You wouldn't have imagined. Yeah, like that furniture company. You wouldn't have imagined that one particular image in another publication that was a review of somebody else's thing, that it would send, lots and lots of business to this furniture company. And it wasn't something they even did themselves. So it was quite amazing. It was such an eye-opener as to the impact of it. So
it's details. I mean, like that. And look, I'm not just, and I suppose it sounds like I've got a vested interest here to be all about SEO, but And look, I do, but I'm not really an SEO guy. I mean, the
Yeah.
difference between me and, say, more of a technical SEO specialist is I have done full suite digital strategy. I've run a full suite digital agency. I've built hundreds of websites. I've done branding, like I said earlier. I've done content. I write content myself. I was in the music industry as well, which was all about style and, you know, creating stories and promotion. And so I've come at the SEO game from a completely different angle, a more holistic sort of angle. And so while people say, oh, he's the SEO guy, come and save us from our SEO woes.
Yeah.
I'm sort of, you know, I'm sort of bringing a lot of other things to the table. The lucky thing for me is that SEO has now really become about the, you know, the connection between all those other pieces. And I just happen to be in the driver's seat. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I've done that. I've done websites. I understand how that connects. I've done content. And so whilst I'm saying, you know, specialize, there is a general experience that I've gained, and I would encourage anyone who's in, you know, digital marketing, if they are interested in SEO, to make a bit of a shift, because that will make them an excellent SEO specialist.
And likewise in reverse, as a marketer, especially, I would have imagined in an e-commerce based business, if you get better at SEO as a marketer, you'll perform better as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a learning nerd. It's like I go, I'm going to learn everything there is to learn about email marketing, and I spend 3 months digging into that and every little bit that I can. Then I go, okay, SEO, I feel really lucky in that I'm going to learn everything I could on that. And I do think ultimately, even though 3 months you're going, I've spent 20 years learning it, of course I could never be that intense into it, but even every little bit of learning I think you do makes you better at your main job. So I think
for sure.
this is, for me, this is one of the reasons why I'm creating a learning hub, I suppose, for us to all get better at what we do.
Oh, for sure. And I think, you know, when you say 3 months, I mean, 3 months to you could be years to other people, because you've obviously got a lot of experience in marketing as well. You're able to disseminate what's good information and what's not. And I think that's another thing. That's another challenge, I suppose, is that we all think we can jump on a blog and be an expert. You know, but obviously there's much more to that than that. You've got to go and then apply that experience. You've got to go and talk to people like we are today. Then you've got to go and do some more research. It never ends. And I didn't go and do a degree in digital marketing or SEO. I studied business law and politics and, I don't know, psychology and, you know, all these things I never even talk about, but I studied all that. There was no internet. You know, I think I had an email address when I was at uni. That was the first magical tech thing. But, you know, that's going to be like what you just talked about. It's going to be critical. Like, how do we learn, sort of learning how to learn, if you like, because this job didn't exist when I was at uni. So I've had to basically learn on the fly.
Are there places to learn good SEO that you recommend? Do you have your own school?
Well, I do teach at AcademyXI, which is pretty well known. And that was an online course this year, which happened to be a good year to have an online course. That's not my course though, but so I do have some you know, some more tools and methods of my own in the works that I'll be launching in the next sort of month or two, and some of that will be incorporated into some of the digital marketing courses out there. So, you know, I can't settle for just doing kind of good SEO. I've got to try and change an industry somehow as well. Just because I get bored, Anne, that's why. So.
Yeah, I know. Look at us change the world. No, I definitely think that's great. And, you know, when you've got all these years of stuff sitting in your head, it's time to, share it with the others. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
So we'll
maybe
make sure.
maybe I'm getting old because it's time for
Yeah.
time for the book deal or something. But
Yeah. No, definitely. We'll make sure that everyone can find that too, because I think it's a really useful resource. Now you might know I've got like a pet topic for myself, which is I'm desperate to get stereotypes out of our industry, and I'm surprising myself just how deep-seated it is through every part of it. And I'm wondering if there were parts of the SEO process and the whole SEO landscape that you think has got the potential to, inaccurately and unhealthy ways to put bad stereotypes out there, gender or race or anything. Yeah, what do you reckon is the potential?
yeah, I think that I think every industry's got its quirks in that area for sure. I suppose the good thing about where SEO is going is it was a techie space which sort of heavily male dominated. And actually, at Mad Scientist, we're mostly ladies in the office now. We've sort of swung back the other way almost to the point where I'm like, am I the only guy here today? Which I love. But I think where SEO is going, because it's becoming a broader understanding, there's less of the techie and more of the the content, PR aspects, the branding aspects, which naturally lend themselves to a more balanced space, which is great. But also what I love is that there's a lot of encouragement for women to code, and get into that techie space and say, you know what, we can do this too. Like we're all good at this. Let's get in and do it. Because we've all seen those videos of the Googles and the big companies where you've got and I'm talking years ago, where there's 100 guys in a room, where are the girls?
Yeah, it is, and even still the numbers are still stacked. 27% of our industry, the average worker is 27 and male. So even though you're doing your bit, I think there's still...
Oh yeah, no, I agree. And actually, it's something I'm really mindful of as well in various, at board level and even putting together a startup at the moment, because I get bored and I start new companies. But I'm thinking, even on the board of advisors, I'm going, oh, hang on. I think the tendency is, we work with our mates, and with guys, it's sort of give Charlie a call, and is that really? Now I went to a private school with all the old school tie crap that goes along with it. I really run the other way because it doesn't work for any of us. It doesn't work for any of us. The opportunity, especially this year. I mean, I've read quite a few articles about how this year really women suffered, with because of childcare reasons, employment reasons, financially, didn't do as well as men. There's all these things this year where the women cop the brunt of it. So I think now more than ever, it's time to go, hang on. I think we all talk about it's broken, and there's a lot of people out there sort of nodding their heads and saying, oh, we're all inclusive and we give opportunities for everyone, gay, straight, male, female, black, white, all this sort of stuff, but they don't actually do anything about it.
Oh, that drives me so mad. You're so right, Ian. And all these people who were touting, Black Lives Matter and all of that, but then at the same time they don't have equal employment opportunities back in their own office. Like, please, it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, and I feel more of an obligation as a white guy in my 40s. I feel more of an obligation to run the other way because I don't want to be on a board of directors with 10 other guys and everybody go, oh, look at the look at this, oh, not this again. Even from that point of view, let alone the quality when there is balance. The quality that comes out of not only our businesses but our lives in general.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and good for you if you're doing your part. And I feel like it sneaks out in the tiniest little ways as well. So even thinking about, down to one of the basics of SEO that you talked about earlier, where even the naming of files. So it's like, a blue T-shirt, people would be tempted to just automatically go boys T-shirt because of the blue. And then what that means is when people are, looking for things online, they're excluded from having the blue for a girl, because that's how it's been coded in the whole sort of SEO process as well. So I feel like that can sway things. Just think hard about, do you really need to stick with those conventions?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I even had someone once say to me, look at this little kid has drawn a picture of mum in pink and dad in blue, and it's a kid. So how could they have ever known that this bias was, coming from society? Okay, are you serious? By the time they're in kinder, they're completely indoctrinated of what's a boy colour and what's a girl colour. Like
that's it. I mean, there's ingrained patterns by that stage. The time is as early as possible is to say, hang on, it's a diverse world, and that's to be celebrated, not to box. I think as humans we tend to want to box everything. We want to have a checkbox for everything, and you go tick 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 tick, and it provides us some safety. We feel safe about that, and it might be a system or a process, but even as humans, it's much better just to be able to categorize or profile, or and it's some safety zone. The irony of it is it creates more division and fear, and so if we can take a more grounded approach to it and be mindful of it, then we actually will feel better about the way we work together, the way the way we treat each other, all those sorts of things. This is sounding like another episode in itself. I'm loving this.
It is, I know. I'm like so passionate about generally conscious marketing. So, I mean, I'm wondering if there's an episode on conscious SEO, like, what could that look like?
Well, that's really interesting, because, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of biases in the code, so God knows, in the algorithms, who knows, what the strategies are, what the angles are, even in the instructions that's put into AI and machine learning. Well, how is that machine learning? It's machine learning because someone's put some parameters in there. Who is that person that put that parameters in there? How do they think? Are they male or female, gay, straight, otherwise? That they, so I think there's all these little subtle biases that build up over time, and it does affect us.
Yeah. Oh, couldn't that be a good episode talking about AI in the future? I saw this amazing study in America on an FBI process. And so what they worked out is that artificial intelligence amplified an existing bias. And in this case, it was against blacks versus whites. And so the blacks were given a negative bias because it was already there, and whites were given a leg up. And it was like whatever was going on, it's like 200% more chance of a discrimination to take place than it was before. It was already bad to start with. So, yeah.
Oh, look, it goes, I think I read a bit about that, actually. It goes through everything. I mean, even, the how to vote cards, and this is the thing. We live in a world where even design, or the spaces and places we exist in have biases based on who the designers are. And so I think it's a great conversation to have, and to be conscious of it, rather than sort of, surrendering to our unconscious, which is what we tend to do.
Yeah, agree. And I'm not all saying, everything should be blancmange, and if you're going into a masculine audience, go hard at it, no problem. If you want to go into a feminine audience, go hard, but know that you're doing it consciously rather than sort of accidentally and then impacting people. That's
often the pendulum's got to swing to its extremes. It's got to swing to the extreme all the way back the other way before people go, oh, okay, and that's how we get the balance. But yeah, it's Yeah, that's a big one. I'm glad you're passionate about that. That's something that's close to your heart.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and I'm trying to pull it apart in every little step of the marketing process. Maybe that's my, secret mission of having a little content channel is infiltrate the world somehow.
I like
Change
it.
this thing, yeah.
I like it.
And it does happen anyway. So tell me about in the world of SEO, is there anything else burning that you think that, a marketing department really needs to know right now that I haven't talked about with you today?
Look, I think we've covered the main principles, but I would, I suppose, pulling out one main point to summarise is really understanding the importance of SEO through, like I said, all the layers of your marketing. You could basically pick anything in marketing, and there's an SEO element to it. There's an SEO. Maybe it's an objective that needs to come out of it. I mean, one thing that's been happening a lot recently is new websites. This year, people have been launching a new website because they've been stuck at home, probably, or it's an opportunity to reflect, do a little navel gazing. It's okay, let's do a brand refresh. Let's bit of a facelift, like recalibrate our messaging, all that sort of stuff. We've helped people transition from an old website to a new website. Now, most people just launch a new website and they think, great, I've got a new website. Everybody can see something new. Yeah. But they don't think about everything from redirecting the old pages. What are the high performing ones, like I mentioned earlier? It's like pulling the rug from under your business to just swap one website out with another without realizing the implications of the change. So that's also another episode, but that's what I'm talking about. There's an element of SEO almost through the entire business, entire marketing, and that's why I'm passionate about it, because I do think SEO gets left out in the cold because it does have a lot of baggage, and most people, it's at a dinner party, if you ask them about SEO, it's like, I don't know, when someone shares that they got pulled over by the police, oh my God, that happened to me and I got a ticket, and did you go to court for that one? Or did you get, how much did you get fined, and how SEO is a little bit like that, right? Everyone's got a bad story. There's way more bad stories than they have good stories. Because of that, they just throw it in the too hard basket.
Well, I think you're right, though, starting with a bit of education and learning is the place to go. So for anyone to find out more about best practice SEO, which is why I think we're talking today, where's a good place to find you, Ian?
Probably LinkedIn. Everyone's on LinkedIn, aren't they? It's the database of the world.
It is.
Yeah, that's right. Or you can contact Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist Digital. You can contact me through there. We've got a new part of Mad Scientists that is SEO education at the Institute, which we're just about to launch. So sort of for practical daily SEO, basics and things like that, we've got that. You're putting together a whole lot of educational materials as well that people have, access to. Perhaps we can share, I can send some of my stuff over there and we can reciprocate there.
For sure.
But if people want to get in touch with me and want to know more, I think LinkedIn is probably the right place. Just say that you've heard this video, otherwise you'll get put with all the other people who are spamming us.
And, all those other SEO people saying, "Do you need SEO?"
Yeah, that's right. So
you get them actually.
Just say I saw you on Anne's, Suits and Sneakers program, because then I'll know. Okay, you're actually wanting to have a real conversation. You're not an automatic process.
Yeah, all about the grown-ups at Suits and Sneakers, that's for sure. Yeah. And I'll put a link to find you anyway, and that's awesome. Well, thanks so much. I feel like I've learned, just that little bit more in my SEO deep dive. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me along. I look forward to chatting to you soon.